Hey folks, this is my first video that's going to be up on YouTube. I am extremely nervous for this, but I'll set the context for you about what this channel is going to be and what I'm going to be posting, things of that sort. So, to set the context, let's go back a few years. So, I've always been proud of the fact that I consider myself a trivia whiz. For most of my teenage years, I tried to become smarter, whether it was watching a ton of TED Talks, reading a book a week, or just straight up Googling facts. So most of my search history looked like this. So facts that make you smarter, facts that, it's just, oh god, just thinking about it makes me cringe. You can mock me all you like, but this need to be perceived and to sound smarter than I actually was stemmed from a very deep-rooted place of insecurity, or insecurities, I should say. And as a young kid, like a young kid's version of intelligence, of being smart, or wisdom, you could have guessed would be something along the lines of memorizing isolated facts and recalling them. And as you can guess, it didn't translate well into real life. I was still a pretty dumb, uncoordinated kid in a lot of aspects. So, contrary to my beliefs, a teacher did not just randomly single me out in the middle of a class and ask me when did the Cambrian explosion take place, or how does, or just lay out the Drake's equation on the board. Like, that did not happen, even though I should daydream about a lot of these things, right? So even though these insecurities inculcated a love of learning in me, they did leave a gaping hole in my self-esteem. Deep down, I still felt like a dumb, uncoordinated, socially awkward kid. That is until I had a paradigm shift. And this paradigm shift came through a speech given at the University of Southern California Marshall Business School in 1994. The speech was titled A Lesson on Elementary Worldly Wisdom as it Relates to Investment and Business by Charlie Munger, the business partner of Warren Buffett. Now, what could I possibly learn from this one speech? What could be so different about this speech? What really stuck with me was this concept that Charlie Munger brought forward in this speech. So here's what he says. What is elementary worldly wisdom? Well, the first rule is that you can't really know anything if you just remember isolated facts and try and bang them back. If the facts don't hang together on a latticework of theory, you don't have them in a usable form. You've got to have models in your head, and you've got to array your experience, both vicarious and defeat, on this latticework of models. With this speech, a new idea was born, an idea known as mental models. It turns out throughout life there are a ton of common threads that you'll find, right? Whether it's topics, concepts, problems, these patterns re-emerge, they reoccur, right? Recurring concepts that can help you explain, predict, or solve a problem. So I was obsessed with the idea of mental models, and I tried to learn as many as I possibly could. So over the last 6 months, I've learned and applied these mental models all throughout my life, and that's led me to make better, faster, high quality decisions and put systems into place that have really helped me grow as a person. So what they help you do is bypass the clutter of factors and options that you have to get to the simplest, most effective solution faster. So there is a famous saying that goes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So if you could spot and identify these recurring patterns and problems, and you learn these mental models attached to them and how it applies to your life and the problem in front of you, you automatically have these protocols that go along with it. So for instance X, you do Y. For instance Z, you do B, whatever it is. Why did I pick random ass alphabets? Anyways, they're the tools in the toolbox, your head, and they're ready to be used whenever the problem arises. So Munger continues, and the models have come from multiple disciplines. because all the wisdom of the world is not to be found in one little academic department. You've got to have models across a fair array of disciplines. Now you may say, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of mental models to keep track of. So many concepts such as activation energy, inversion, second order thinking, things of that sort, right? First, thinking from first principles. There are a lot of mental models that could benefit your life. But how do I remember all of them? It turns out that you do not have to remember all mental models. There are a select few referred to them as super models, so super mental models, and these are very, very common occurrences in our life. So an example of a really important mental model or a super model would be Occam's razor. Occam's razor basically states that the simplest, most easily testable solution is often the best one, right? Or often the one that's right. Because it doesn't take into account a lot of assumptions. It's, like I said, easily testable. So in case that doesn't work, we move on to the next one. So that's an example of a super model. So Munger further expands this point in, I think it was Stanford Law School. He says, when I urge a multidisciplinary approach, I'm really asking you to ignore jurisdictional boundaries. If you want to be a good thinker, you must develop a mind that can jump these boundaries. You don't have to know it all. Just take in the best big ideas from these disciplines, and it's not that hard to do. So, that brings me to my next point, which is if you want to learn more about mental models, interesting concepts or skills that I've learned over the past week, months, consider subscribing and giving this video a like. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I shall see you next week. Hopefully I can post about at least one video a week, if not two. So yeah, I shall see you in the next video. Godspeed, soldier.